Hi everybody, in this lesson we're continuing on with exercise 137. I'm now on page 218 of Shelmerdine's text and we're starting off with number 6. Ha demosthenes houtos el elexen hosta tus Athenios autopithesthai. Alright, so a lot of things to digest. Let's start off by breaking things up. We've got our subject, ha demosthenes, nominative masculine singular, houtos, one of these adverbs that we've gotten used to seeing. It's going to trigger a result. And it means so. And then L, another adverb. Remember, adverbs can modify adverbs. So well he spoke. That's our aorist, third person, singular, active, indicative form of the verb lego, to speak, with the result that, so that the Athenians, him, believed. We'll get down to all of that in just a second. So Demosthenes, that's our subject. And then, of course, we need to rearrange this and to fit the rules of English word order. Spoke so well, and that's the so is going to be triggering this result clause, that the Athenians might believe him. So again, we've got what here? This is an infinitive. So we're talking here not about an actual result, but a natural result. Naturally, we might say, naturally the Athenians would believe him because he spoke so well. So let's rephrase this in a kind of natural result way. Demosthenes spoke so well so as to persuade. Remember, this is what we've got from, well, what form of the verb is this? Well, this is coming from patho, obviously. Well, what happened to that initial epsilon? You'd have to know, this is actually coming from the third principal part, the aorist, and then that is what? Of course, it's epithon. It's a strong aorist with that kind of omicron new ending. That's why we have an esthai here rather than an osthai, because it's not a weak aorist with an alpha. So as to persuade, so persuade is patho, but then we've got this ending, which is middle, so not persuade, but rather Demosthenes spoke so well, so as, or I guess maybe, let's keep it just that the Athenians were persuaded by, that is, obeyed him. That's what we're trying to get. Obeyed him. Excellent. All right. Next sentence. Hai eunikis sophoterai esan e hoste pisteusai tuto heronti. So the thing to keep in mind here is we're going to get one of these comparatives which triggers this a hoste. And the way that we want to translate this is as to blank, to whatever the adjective is. So the women, haigunikes, esan, were too, and that's two with a double O, too wise. No, so this is coming from what adjective ultimately? Sophos. And then note when it becomes comparative, this omicron lengthens because this is already a short omicron in front of it, so we get sophoterai. The women were too wise to, and then pisteuo, our favorite verb here, believe that, this old man. So the women were too wise to believe this old man. Good. Comparative here, triggering the a hoste. And too wise to do something, too blank to do something. This is our comparative natural result clause. Now let's try it the other way around. English to Greek, exercise 138. The orator speaks so sweetly that he always persuades us. So this always is a good sign that we're going to be talking here about a natural result. This is not that one time that he persuaded us, but naturally he speaks so sweetly that he always persuades us. So the orator, ha, rhetor, a little dyslexic there, apologies, rhetor, speaks. So we just saw this. It's from the verb lego. And then we would say, oh, that was perfect, but we need to make it third person singular, of course, lege. And then so sweetly, if we remember from up here, where we had so well, hutos and eo preceded the verb. So that's what we're going to want to repeat. Whenever you're in these English to Greek sentences, it's good to look back at the Greek to English, see if there are any parallels, and borrow those. So what do we have? Hutos. And now, we can even say, well, where's the accent? Oh, well, look up there. It's on the penal. Good. So, and then we need the word for sweetly. So we know the word itself is hedus when we come to the adjective, but how do we find the adverbial form of this word? This should bring you back to page 201 on chapter 29, and you're going to be saying, yes, we go to the genitive plural form, which is hedeon, and we drop the nu and add sigma to get our adverbial form, hedeos. So that delta has gotten a little bit messy in the process. Let me start over for that word. So sweetly. The orator speaks so sweetly. Okay, we need to put that speak verb in there. That he always persuades us. So that word right there is hosta. And then we need to make this a natural result, which means infinitive rather than indicative. So we can put the word always in there to start off. Ie, hosta ie, persuades. Now again, remember the verb for persuade is patho. Now we need to make it infinitive. And we can tell from this that we want that aspect to be continuous, always persuades us. So we just use the present infinitive, pathein, and then patho takes an accusative direct object. So we have hemas. Let me get the accent on there. Great. Oh, never mind. Let me fix that accent on ie. It should be on the second syllable on the diphthong, ie. And then because it's there, it should be a grave accent since it's followed by another word, pathein. Horeto hutos hedeos lege hoste ie pathein hemas. The Persians were so many, not so many that nobody hindered them. So the so many we had also seen in that above example, tosutoi. And then we can copy that example exactly down to the level of accent, right? We just find it and we'll use it. I guess I lost that example and moving on. But this was example number 3, I think, from chapter 31, exercise 137. Yes, so we'd have tosutoi esan hoi persai. The Persians were so many. Correct that. Persai. That, again, our key word here, hoste, we're getting used to that now, that nobody hindered them. So let's again think, well, this could really go either way, as actual or natural result. Let's take it again as a natural. So hindered them, simple aspect probably in this situation. So we'd take koluo, get its aorist form, ekolusa, turn it into an infinitive by dropping the past indicative augment, adding an iota here, and then adding the accent right before that. So kolusai, them, we could just say autus, and now we need to say, how do we say nobody? Where have we learned that? Well, that's a bit of a trick question, because if you look up no one, which is basically what they're asking for here, in the dictionary in Shelmerdine, it sends us to chapter 33, 2 chapters ahead of where we're going. So we got 2 options here. We could either turn this passive. The Persians were so many that they were hindered, that they were not hindered. That would be one way of conveying the basic meaning, that they weren't hindered because there were so many. But let's use this nobody. If we were going to turn to chapter 33, you'd be on page, ironically enough, 233, and then we'd need a subject for this infinitive, And note that the subject would not be the same as the main sentence, which is hoi persai. So what we need is an accusative form, accusative, and presumably masculine singular, of the word for no one, nobody. And that is u dana. We'll get to exactly what that means because it's literally no one. We're talking about numbers here, but we'll get there in a couple chapters. So many were the Persians, with the result that no one hindered them. That's how we'd want to do it to keep that active meaning. But if you were posed with this, I think the best thing to do, having not learned how to say this yet, is just to have rendered this in the passive, that they were not hindered. And again, that would be a may in front of the passive infinitive, but we don't need to get into that. I've wasted enough of your time, I realize, in all of these lectures, going into all the different possibilities. I hope you found it useful. I'm realizing now that maybe you just wanted me to move on, and that's fine. Here I am moving on. The general was too prudent to cross the mountain by night. So the general, we know that. Strategos, the army leader, right? Strategos was too prudent. And again, that's going to be one of these comparatives with a hoste at the end. So we need the word for prudent, which is what? I don't know why I started with a P there. Sophron. And then we need to make that comparative. So what do we do there? Sophroteros. So, and then was going to be third person singular. Ain. The general was wiser than, quite literally, but more prudent than. But this is going to be exactly how we express it. Hostrategos ain sophroteros e hosta, cross the mountain by night. So that is our result clause. How are we going to do that? So what's the verb to cross? And that is diabino, literally to walk or to move across. So to cross the mountain by night. Again, let's treat this as a natural result. So diabino becomes diabinane. And that's exactly where the accent will want to stay. The general was too prudent to cross the mountain. And because it's a neuter, the nominative is the same as the genitive to oros, by night. Now you'd be tempted maybe to do kata nukta, since that's how we say by land, right? Kata gain, or by sea, kata thalatan. But no, here, what are we really saying? Well, during the night time. So we've got a period of time within which. So it's during the night is really what we're trying to express there, and time within which is done with the genitive without a preposition in Greek. So we're going to have tes nuktos. The general was too prudent that he, really too prudent to cross the mountain by night. That's our translation. Good. Hope that was helpful, everyone, and I'll see you finally now in the next chapter, 32, in the next lesson. See you then.